Today I'm going to do something a little different. All right, no defined financial topic, no script. Look, over the last year, this channel just crossed over 1 million views on retirement content alone. And underneath what all those videos, thousands and thousands of comments. Some of you are furious. Furious at the system, furious at advisors, furious at me for saying you might need less than you think. And some of you, you're the exact opposite. You're at peace, you're living on less than anyone would guess, and doing just fine, thank you. Today I want to read you some of the comments, out loud, unfiltered, not a highlight reel, right? The real range of what you're telling me. So let's start with the one that always gets my attention and everybody else's attention first. So here's the actual comment. Shush. You people saying you can live off lower monthly cost. You're ruining it for the average Joe and Joni. You're giving the federal government more ammo to cut our future Social Security benefits. I will start collecting Social Security in a couple of years, and I want everything, all caps, I am owed. Look, I hear the fear in that one. And I don't think it's irrational. Look, there's a real funding gap. We've talked about it in several videos if Congress does nothing. But here's where I want you to slow down, because two very different things get mixed together in comments like this. When you see the word insolvent, broke, which is the clickbait word that's often used, that's not even on the table. What's on the table is a reduced benefit if Congress doesn't act by the early 2030s. They're not the same thing. And the difference matters for how scared you should be. So look, here's my take on it. Plan as if the benefit cut is possible. Don't plan as if the whole program vanishes out of thin air. And to the person who left that comment, my spending choices or yours, they don't set federal policy. That's not how any of this works. I don't want you carrying that fear on top of everything else. All right, the second one. You need $1 million so your advisor can charge 1% management fee per year. If you base withdrawals on, say, 4% for you and 1% for him, that means 20% of your annual withdrawals are going to the person you may meet with twice a year. Maybe. Okay. I'm not going to pretend this comment doesn't have a point. The incentive problem is real. An advisor who charges a percentage of your assets, they make more money the longer you keep working and the bigger your number gets. Look, that's just math. But let's separate the two claims. They're getting kind of messed up there. The industry has some bad incentives. That's true. You don't need any help at all. That's a different claim. And it's not automatically true just because that first one is. Here's how I think about it. When you hear you've got to retire with $1 million or $2 million, it's not a lie so much as a generic, one size fits all default. It doesn't know if you're debt free. It doesn't know what your Social Security check even looks like. It doesn't know if you have a pension. It's a number built for nobody in particular, which means it's probably wrong for you specifically. All right, our next one. The key to retire with less is to be debt-free and to stop spending. I love the simplicity of that comment. Look, out of everything in the comments, this is the one theme I see over and over and over again. It's not your portfolio size. It's debt. Being debt-free, especially having that mortgage paid off, is the single most consistent variable behind every "I live comfortably on so much less than you think" comment, which there was a lot of that I read. And here's why that matters so much. A paid off house doesn't just remove a monthly payment. It removes the floor under your spending, that feeling That panic that no matter what, you always need X amount of dollars to pay the mortgage no matter what happens. Debt-free retirees have a much lower monthly floor that they need to get to. Now, one honest pushback that I get a lot of, that I was called out on, paid off is not the same as free. I get that. Taxes, maintenance, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I get that it's not free, but the benefit you get from not having a mortgage, hard to describe. All right, our next one. Social Security is money you've paid into the system. It's yours. Look, I'm of the mind, start collecting as soon as you can. What good is an extra $200 to $800 if you can't enjoy it? Okay, here's a contrasting opinion. My husband and I waited to age 70 to max out our Social Security benefits. We live very nicely on Social Security only, and we usually have some income left over. Look, out of everything you sent me, this is the most argued about topic in all the entire comments. So instead of picking a side, let's just kind of referee. All right, the two folks. Camp one says, take it early. Money in hand beats a promise of more money later. Your health and your energy are usually at their best in your 60s, not your 70s. And if you don't live long enough to hit that break-even age, waiting costs you everything, okay? Some reality there. Camp two says, wait if you can. A permanently higher check for the rest of your life. It's great. It's a better hedge if you live longer than you expect, and a stronger survivor benefit for your spouse if you're married, if something happens to you first. Here's my honest answer. This is not a math problem. It's not a mistake in math on either side. It's a bet on your own longevity and your own cash flow needs. The answer is, it depends. I know it's not dodging the question. It's the actual correct answer. All right, here's the next one, and this one is totally justified. I'm so tired of these advisors only factoring a dual household retirement. It's very different for single retirees. Please do both if you want to be fair and honest about the numbers needed. Wow. Look, I got to own this one directly. I can't talk around that. A lot of retirement content, a lot of mine, defaults to a couple's numbers because that's the more common household in the data, but that leaves out a huge and growing group of singles. And here's a specific pain point that's buried in that comment, and a lot of others that are very similar to that. When you lose a spouse, your expenses don't cut in half. The house still costs exactly the same. You just lost one of your two income checks. So here's what I'm going to commit to right here on camera. I hear this often enough. It deserves its own video, real numbers built especially for single, divorced, widowed retirees. I got to work on that. It's coming. All right, our next one. You forgot to mention that Medicare Part B monthly payment deducted from your Social Security check. Another comment, property taxes are a killer. They never go away. In mine, it's $400 a month for me, and I don't even live in the city limits. Good pushback on that one. And I want to say plainly that instead of getting defensive about it, a paid off house, like we talked about earlier, it doesn't mean free. You have all these other expenses that I haven't addressed and called out individually. Insurance, property taxes are permanent, and in a lot of states, they're rising. And I'll let you decide whether or not you think that rising tax base, is it going to continue? Unfortunately, taxes are almost rising faster than anything else in the retirees' budget. And a lot of you had a real honest confusion about IRMAA. So let's explain it in just one little line. It's an income-based surcharge on your Medicare premium, meaning the more taxable income you show in a given year, the more Medicare can cost you. It catches people off guard because it shows up 2 years after the income that triggered it. What does that mean? So it looks back 2 years to the income you were making 2 years ago. So I'm going to add this back in. You were right to it. We're going to call out and do more work on IRMAA and other expenses you got to watch for in your retirement plan. Here's our next one. I've enjoyed thoroughly how I live when I'm in Portugal or Spain or Amsterdam or Germany for half the price. I can live a higher quality of life than I do here. Let's change the mood a little bit for a second, because this next theme is fun to read through. Some of you have taken the exact same Social Security check and completely changed what it can buy just by changing your address. Mexico, the Philippines, Portugal, or simply some lower cost of living state or a rural town, staying right here closer to home. I'm not going to pretend this is for everyone. I would struggle with it personally, to be honest. Family, healthcare access, culture, those are real considerations. But for the people in the comments who've gone ahead and made this move, you know what? For a lot of them, it sounds like a genuinely transformative retirement. All right, next comment. I live on $1,300 a month. I retired 3 years ago, no car, no debt. I live alone, never lonely, having a blast at 66, and I'm healthy. Other comment. This is the other side of the range. We're aiming for $15,800 a month over the first 11 years of retirement, and then $12,500 a month over the next 14 years after that. Think about that gap for a second. $1,300 a month on one end, $15,800 on the other. Both of those people wrote they're confident, they're content, just different lives and different lifestyles. So here's the point that I want to call out, and it's really the whole thesis of what we do here at Brain Flash. There is no universal number. There's only a universal method, what you actually spend minus your guaranteed income, minus whatever debt you're carrying. That's the equation. The dollar figure at the end of that is your personal dollar figure. Nobody else's, no guess, no retirement calculator. It's yours. And it's exactly what you shoot for as you plan on retirement. All right. Finally, a video about how much you need to retire that is not depressing. Thank you. I'm really glad that somebody felt that way. I want to slow down for this one a little bit. It's not a debate. It's just a thank you. And I want to just kind of enjoy that for a second. I read a lot of comments like this one. People telling me they feel normal again. They feel less scared about making a decision that they've put off, procrastinated for years. Honestly, that's the whole reason I even make this channel. It's not to sell you a number. It's to take some of the fear out of the decision. Now look, we have mentioned this before. If you want help actually running your own numbers, I built something for exactly that. It's called the Retirement Reality Check. Go over to brainflash.com, drop your email. It's free of charge right to your inbox. It'll help you do the math. Here's a tough one. My mother claims her Social Security at 70 years old after working so much. She died at 75 years old. I am definitely going to claim my Social Security at age 62. That one sticks with me. A whole working life and 5 years to enjoy what it earned. That's a tough one. There's no version of this video where I can hand you the perfect number or the perfect age to claim or the one right way to do this. What I can tell you is this. The people in my comments who are doing the best aren't the ones with the biggest portfolio number. Please believe that. I see that so much. They're the ones who actually ran their own numbers, made a decision, and stopped waiting for permission from somebody else. So what's your number? What's the number that after doing your expenses, right, looking at your budget, what's the number that you need to retire with? Look, what are you afraid of? Put in the comments. I read every one of them, and you might end up in the next video I do like this. Hey, in all honesty, thank you for trusting me with your stories. I'll see you in the next one. This is Brain Flash.